Burke's on his feet. He looks up and gives me a grin and says,
"Hey dude, you too must be from Marin."
Marin County's A-OK, from Tam to Stinson all the way to MA. Fresh organic veggies in the market every day. Lieutenant Dylan and NW.
Welcome to the Run TMC podcast. That is the Run the Marin County podcast, a podcast about basketball in the Marin County. I am Duffy Ballard, and this is January 21st. And with me is the Sleepy Hollow Terralinda Divide, where I'm walking, Dave, with my phone. It is a beautiful afternoon. The sun is out. I'm looking across to the bay and just feeling very grateful for where I live and where we live, Dave. Other than the fact that I do see some smoke on the east side of Tam, about halfway up, and I'm hoping it's a prescribed burn, and I'm hoping our next door listserv is not blown up with questions and commentary about the smoke. We do not need a wildfire here, Dave. But anyway, as Blues Traveler would say, let's move on, Dave. This is Season 2, Episode 12. If you haven't listened to episodes 1 through 11 in season 2, well, they are available and you can get after it. And today in this episode, we will be changing it up a little bit. We are going back to the voice memo, back and forth, a little trading off of messages as we introduce guests from episode 13. This was an interview that occurred way back in September, and it was a great interview. We kind of thought it was an evergreen one, Dave, although there are certain aspects of the conversation that do need to be updated with events that have transpired since September. But it is Eileen Burke and Joe Burke. Dave, I'm going to let you tell us a little bit more about them. And if you don't mind, a little shout out and thank you to our sponsors. And then, if you don't mind, hope I'm not asking too much here, but perhaps also either a little preview or an update from the stands with regards to the matchup on the girls' side and boys' side tonight at Marin Catholic, Redwood, and Marin Catholic. A bunch of friends of the podcast squaring off. Zach Borello, Redwood girls coach, Caden Korst, KK, MC girls coach. We've got Tom Poser, Redwood boys assistant coach, end of the bench. Really encouraging all those players, especially the big men. And we've got friend of the podcast, Mike Saya, who has really turned around that MC boys team. And they're young and talented and playing really well. So I wish I could be there, Dave. I will be at our game, which is at home against Terralinda. And what I would like is a vivid description, if possible. I will take a preview, but a vivid description of events unfolding would just be amazing. I bet our listeners would like that too. All right, take it away, Coach. I know you'll knock this one out of the park.
Duffy, always innovating. Thank you for the idea of the voice memo intro. And hello, Run TMC crew. Dave Levine here. Happy to provide a quick update on happenings around the county, and then honored to give an intro to our friends Joe and Eileen Burke. This was a really fun conversation. But first, some updates from around the county. Thank you to our correspondents who send us updates. We really appreciate them. We got a staunch crew of folks attending games around the county, boys and girls. Last night was a lot of fun at Marin Catholic. Saw two phenomenal games. The Redwood and Marin Catholic girls varsity teams fought in a really fun game, back and forth. Redwood was up late. MC stormed back. Shout out to MC freshman Simone Claxton, who hit 2 threes in a furious fourth quarter rally that brought the game, tied the game actually late. Redwood just was too tough down the stretch. They ended up making the plays they needed to and won the game by 6. But a great game. And Caden Korst is doing a phenomenal job with the Marin Catholic team. They play so hard. They move the ball well. Izzy McFadden is a next level talent, but they just have a great crew of players around her, and they're playing together, and they're going to be very tough in the postseason. And of course, Zach Borello is so good in those kinds of games, and he's got a great crew of talented players who also play really hard, play together. They have the inside-outside presence with Brooke Denler and Hindi Copeland down low that helped them. But just a really fun game to watch, back and forth, and awesome to see the girls compete. And then everybody in that gym was treated to a barn burner in the nightcap. The Redwood boys faced the Marin Catholic boys, and it was as advertised. I mean, just a really fun back and forth battle. The first quarter, I think the score was something like 20-18 or 21-all, something like that at the end of the first quarter. I mean, these teams were on a torrid pace, and it's not like they weren't playing defense. I mean, they were playing hard, picking up full court, but just shot makers left and right. This was Redwood's fourth game in 5 days, I believe. So they were, I think probably a little bit tired early, but you really couldn't tell because they just play so hard and they're so fun to watch. And Marin Catholic looked fantastic, played a great game. Late in the game, MC jumped out to a pretty big 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, and Redwood just chipped away at it. Shout out to Leo Centeno, who came into the game fresh into the game, 3 minutes left, and bangs down a three, and that was a huge momentum shift for Redwood. Brendan Woodley made tons of plays, penetrating and finishing at the rim. Obviously, you had TT Carr, who does everything for Redwood out there, but just a really great effort by Redwood to get back into the game. TT ended up making a follow, missed a shot, got his rebound, and followed up to tie the game with about 15 seconds left. And then Joe Hammond for MC brought the ball up the court. Those of us who were at the Redwood MC game last year in the Redwood gym had flashbacks, very similar situation, tie game, and Joe Hammond threw in a game winner from deep. So smash cut to last night, 15 seconds left. Hammond's bringing the ball up. MC spreads it out. TT Carr guarding Joe Hammond. These guys probably, guarded each other in practice a couple years ago when they were both at Branson. And Hammond made a move. TT cut him off. Hammond ended up kind of shooting a step back, probably 32-foot three, banked it in at the buzzer. The crowd went absolutely nuts. It was incredible. And again, it was deja vu. Joe Hammond again with the game winner. So high school sports is awesome. And I highly recommend everybody go out and support your local team or any team that you want. I saw a lot of people in that gym there last night who were just there because they were fans. They didn't have kids playing. They're not in the either a Redwood or MC family. They're just there to watch good basketball, and that's what it's all about. I love it. So really fun. And then shout out to basically everybody out there competing. On the boys' side, there's a lot of parity in this league. Santa Fe's really good with Luke and Gio pouring it in. Tara Linda's plays super hard, and they've got a lot of talent. Evan Brewster is really good as a sophomore. Obviously, you got Archie, Russ, and Duffy and crew are doing a great job with the Archie team. Measy, Butler, Dante Stallone, Grady Stewart. You got a bunch of guys who just play really hard, press, pick up full court. Chris Labdiotis doing a fantastic job with San Marin. San Marin beat Branson in overtime last week. Was a big upset and a really great win for them. Novato's playing well. It's a fun league. I will say, closer to home, San Domenico, Tyler Gaffney's San Domenico boys beat Coach Lav's San Marin Mustangs yesterday in a nice win for San Domenico. San Domenico's having a really solid year. The league is tough. The BCL is a tough league with University and Urban and Lick all really good. And San Domenico, those are kind of the top four teams, but Gavin Early can play with anybody, and San Domenico's doing great. And then for my squad, we started off 2-7. We're now 9-10, so we've gone on a nice little run. Carly Amborn is special. She's different. She's had multiple 30-plus point games and is really, really fun to watch. So if you get the chance to come down and watch her play, I recommend it. She's, I submitted her McDonald's All-American application. You don't do that every day. So Carly Amborn's great, and the whole squad is rallying and stepping up and making plays. So it's been a lot of fun. All right, that's my update on Marin County hoops. Correspondents keep sending us info. Also, we have a correspondent in the city, Mark Lewis, who is giving us updates on the St. Ignatius boys. The SI boys are really good. That's my update. They can play with anybody. But Lou keeps sending us updates, and we'll we'll provide them. And by the way, I should say, obviously, on the boys' side, one team I didn't mention enough is Branson. Branson is really fun to watch. I was at the Branson Redwood game last week, which was just packed house at that Redwood gym. And Branson is athletic. They're well coached. They're disciplined. NJ Gray is a next level talent, already getting Division I offers as a sophomore. Heath French is really good. Chase Robertson, they're really good. So the MCal on the boys' side, really exciting. And then, on the girls' side, I still think it's Redwood and MC at the top with San Marin there. And then you got Branson and Archie kind of lurking, who are both really good and could beat anybody on any given night. Okay, let's do a quick shout out to our sponsors. I would like to thank our friends at West End Nursery, Chris Unterman in downtown San Rafael. Go to West End for any sort of plant or nursery needs. The Nike camps at San Domenico, our buddy Jeff Skaggs. Saw Skaggs last night at the Marin Catholic Redwood game. He's another one of those people who just is out and about, loves supporting local sports. So thank you, Jeff, and thank you, San Domenico camps. Obviously, the Hub, Jerry and Rebecca, love the Hub. I've been there multiple times in the last couple of weeks. And thank you to all of our sponsors who have been there for us along the way. Batiste Rum, obviously. Thank you, John Lawson. Okay, let's get on to this interview. This is a different one. This is kind of like our Jeff Skaggs interview last year, where we love sitting down with Jeff, but we talked about things that are kind of timeless and sort of the history of Marin. And this had the same kind of feel. And ironically, Joe Burke was the Marin Catholic boys coach for a couple years, and he coached Jeff Skaggs. So there's a through line there. But Joe and Eileen Burke, great people. Joe has lived a life. He's a USF grad from the 1950s. He was at USF when USF was in its heyday of both basketball and football, as we talk about. He then went on to be a coach in Marin, a basketball coach, as I mentioned, Marin Catholic. He also very successful boxing trainer, and that was really his first love. He was a boxer himself, and he trained boxers, so he has some interesting stories about that. But just a really fun guy to talk to with great perspective on the world. And then his daughter, Eileen, might sound familiar to you. She is the mayor of San Anselmo. We recorded this in late September. She was gearing up for her re-election in November, and she won, obviously. So she's still the mayor of San Anselmo. Joe and Eileen are, longtime San Anselmo residents. Eileen has children who went to Archie Williams. She is the PA announcer for Archie Williams, as I think you heard in the intro to this podcast. And she's been very involved in local sports. And then she herself was a player. She went to Marin Catholic, played basketball at college in Marin, and has great perspective on the game, both as a player and then also she coached her kids. So very interesting, far-reaching discussion that we have with Joe and Eileen. Very much appreciate them sitting down with us on a sunny September day. I will make a few follow-ups here. We talk early in the interview about Stan Buchanan, who was a legendary USF player that Joe mentions, and he mentioned that Stan was battling cancer. Stan just did pass away recently, last couple weeks. I saw the news in the IJ. Very sad. He had a long career in Marin as an educator and a coach. And so we mourn the passing of Stan. And then one correction, little player control. Joe, when he was talking about the players he coached, he mentioned Blanky Chavez. I think he meant Bucky, but he coached Bucky Chavez in CYO. So anyway, enjoy this interview. And Duffy, thanks for the idea of the voice memo intro. Saved me a trip to Sleepy Hollow. Enjoy, folks. Talk soon.
Good morning, sports fans, and welcome to the Run TMC podcast recording studio on Tamalpais Avenue in downtown San Anselmo, home of the famous mini hoop. We have a unique hometown lineup today. Former USF Don, former Marin Catholic boys varsity coach, 90-year-old Joe Burke. And our second starter, former player at Marin Catholic and College of Marin, the announcer at Archie Williams girls basketball games, and the mayor of San Anselmo, Eileen Burke.
Well, good morning. We are here in downtown San Anselmo with Joe Burke and Eileen Burke. A lovely morning here, late September. and we're just going to talk some basketball. Why don't we start with you, Joe? Can you tell us a little bit, give us a short biography of Joe Burke with an emphasis on basketball, if you don't mind?
Well, I played basketball in high school. I played on a lot of good teams, but I never played much. I got hurt before my senior year, didn't play in high school. Then I was rehabbing my knee as a freshman at USF, so I didn't play then. At that time, freshmen couldn't be on the varsity. And then just before the season started, when I was on the varsity, I got hurt again and didn't play at all my freshman year. Rehabbed after that injury before my junior year, and in a pickup game, hurt the knee again.
Oh boy.
And that was the end of my basketball career. So what I said in the beginning, I was on some very good teams. That USF team won the NCAA championship, but I never played.
So you were at USF, and this was in the 50s, correct?
Yes.
So Bill Russell,
Yes.
Casey Jones, those they were your contemporaries at USF, and
Very much so. In fact, you may know Stan Buchanan.
of course.
He's dying. He's got cancer.
Sorry to hear that.
He was on that team.
And he's
Yeah.
the last of the starters on the team. We went to high school together and played in high school.
And how about Cappy Lavin?
He was a little bit ahead of me.
Yeah.
He was a senior, I think, when I was either a freshman or a sophomore.
Okay. Yeah, we've known the Lavin family. Or Duff and I were both Lavin campers. Steve was my coach. Cap was a real mentor and inspiration for me. So
Uh-huh.
great family. So, okay, so you go to USF, you have some injuries, but so continue with your basketball journey.
Well, I always continued playing pickup games. And then I started coaching CYO at St. Anselmo's. And I coached some kids from Drake, Blanky, Chavez, Katuna. And we had real good success. And that somehow got the attention from Marin Catholic. And they asked me if I would coach the freshman team, which I did for 1 year. We won the championship. And then the varsity coach moved on, and I took over as the head coach, and I coached there for 4 years.
And this was in the 70s?
70s, late 70s, early 80s, I think. Uh-huh.
And had you gone to high school here in Marin? Have you been in Marin your entire
No,
life?
I went to St. Ignatius in the city. I grew up in the city.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Great. So how long did you coach at MC?
I was there 5 years.
You enjoy it?
Very much. Yeah. I really enjoyed coaching the CYO kids. I think maybe even, well, I wouldn't say more. Yeah, maybe I would. I like both of them. I like coaching, period. I'm still coaching. I coach, I'm actually more connected with boxing than I am with basketball.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, yeah.
And I've been training fighters for decades.
Fantastic. Any good Marin fighters?
Andy Nance,
Yeah.
he was a world ranked fighter.
Yep.
And he was going to fight for the championship when he had an epileptic attack, and that was the end of his career. He was a good fighter. And that's very unusual coming out of Marin. I promoted his fights here in Marin County for probably, well, he was fighting for about 2 years.
So
Were
you
you a
probably know
boxer?
the Naves as well.
Very well.
Yeah, he knows all the boxing. He's in the Bay Area Boxing Hall of Fame, and it's a regular crowd.
Yeah. Joe, were you a boxer yourself?
I was.
What did you fight? What was your fighting weight?
Well, I started out as a middleweight when I was a kid,
Okay.
teenager, and I finally grew into a heavyweight. I fought as an amateur.
Great. Well, thank you. So we'll get to this in a little bit, but we have some anecdotes from some of the players you coached. So we'll share those at the end a bit. Okay, Eileen.
Yeah, so I did grow up playing basketball, but not formally really because it didn't exist. You know, I watched my dad coach CYO and I'd go hang around teams, but there was no girls basketball,
Yeah.
like none. And so I was lucky that at St. Anselmo's there were only, I think, 7 boys in my particular class. So I played with them at recess and at lunch. You know, so I played many, many hours more than most girls probably had by the time we got to high school. But it was actually almost openly discouraged at the school to play.
Hmm.
I mean, I had teachers say things like, "Well, you know, you're a girl, right?" You know, just a whole different attitude.
Yeah.
You know, loved the game, always had a basketball in my hands. Yeah, so it really wasn't until high school that I played formally. I went to Marin Catholic, and you know, I played all 4 years there, 3 years on varsity. We weren't very good. I was, a good player on a not very good team, which is frustrating, as well as never really having coaches there. At that time, people didn't even want to coach girls basketball. They would pay a teacher $500 extra, if they'd coach a team. And so, had a series of coaches that really, were nice people,
weren't
basketball coaches.
Yeah. What was the league like at that time? Like were you before Karen Chapelis?
Yeah, no, I'm ahead of her, but I'm only 2 years ahead of her. She was a sophomore. So it was sort of, there was maybe one or two good people on each team and then a big drop off.
Right.
It's just the skill set wasn't there for most girls. Yeah. So that was, Drake had some good teams that were a little more balanced, but for the most part, the teams weren't very good. It's kind of like going and watching a girls freshman or JV game now, they're just, the good players now go right to varsity. And so JV and freshmen, there's maybe some that are okay, but the skill just aren't there.
So you were 79?
That's the year I graduated, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, and then the Drake girls team won the state title in 82.
After, yeah. And I know they were pretty good then.
And they were good. And that I think kind of put girls basketball in Marin on the map when they did that.
Yeah. So it was, when I was playing, it was still with the men's ball. I know it's crazy to even think about that now. And actually, even the women's ball now just feels small to me, like a volleyball in my hands. And there was no 3-point line,
of course.
And there was no club teams, anywhere for girls. I mean, there wasn't really even for boys at that time, actually.
Yeah.
There was summer league, and I think it was between my sophomore and junior year they started allowing girls in Pete Hayward's pirate camp, and so I did that. And that I think is probably the first time I got some coaching. I was 16, I guess, which seems way late compared to kids now. I mean, of course I'd watched my dad coach, and I picked up a lot like that, but never had someone individually work with me. No one ran a motion offense. Everything was, a post player, which I ended up being because I was the tallest on the team.
Yeah.
So just a whole different world, And then I went to, so I was a first team all league player my junior and senior year in both basketball and softball. I was kind of more, I played both sports. And then I went to College of Marin after I graduated. And that was like such a different experience because everyone was good. It's so much more fun to play with a talented team.
Sure.
And a really balanced team. And, we did really well. And we're coached by Dick Hart.
Yep.
I don't know if, he had been a legend at Redwood forever.
And Dick Hart Court still.
Right. And then he moved over there. And then the second year, Stan Buchanan coached there with John Panagakis. I'm not sure if you know who he was.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you know some of these names.
Yeah.
So that, again, was just so fun. And Stan, who'd played on that, USF team, that championship team, he was a perfect coach for me because, I was a one-on-one player, a really good one-on-one player, and he really was able to develop that. And that was a fun experience. So I stopped playing after College Marin. And then I really didn't play much other than here and there, pick up games sort of, until I had kids. Then I started coaching. I mean, I have boy-girl twins. They're now 20. They went through the public schools here, but played CYO, did pirate camp, and went to White Hill and then to, now Archie Williams. My daughter was really more the basketball player once they got to high school.
Yeah.
She was on varsity for 3 years, I guess. A starter, but, not a star. And I coached them up through 8th grade. And then now I announce. I think I announced basketball. So it was
the Archie Williams games.
Yeah. So it started the year my daughter was a sophomore and on varsity. We'd go to the games and watch, and sometimes stay for the men's game or the boys' game. And they had an announcer. And I approached the athletic director and I said, well, why don't you have a girls announcer? The boys have one.
Yeah.
And he's like, here's the mic. I mean, I don't think they'd thought about it, is the truth, which is, it's not like they personally were excluding girls. But then then my son was playing volleyball. I started announcing that. And now I think all the sports have announcers, or most of them do. So they've kind of stepped it up there. And I continue to do the girls basketball, and then I'll fill in on other sports whenever they ask me. I think I mentioned I even did football Labor Day weekend, which was really, really fun. But first time for that. So that's kind of my basketball, other than I'm the mini hoop sponsor.
Mini hoop sponsor. We're going to get to that. And then, Eileen, you also have a side gig in addition to your duties as a sports announcer for Archie Williams. What else do you do?
Well, I'm the mayor here in town.
Yeah, you're the mayor of San Anselmo.
Yeah,
That's
that.
a small detail.
Yeah, it is. So I've been on the town council for 4 years, and this year I'm the mayor. So it's fun. It's great. I grew up in this town, and so it's just really fun because I know so many people, and just to give back and help out the town. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I was a campaign manager.
Yeah. He and I would stand out at the hub with my sign, which you'll probably see us some in the next few weeks.
See a bunch of them. Yeah. Well, maybe just pause here for a moment. How did you get started in local politics?
So, my kids Paul Chanel, who's a local guy that had been mayor for many years and lives in town, had been asking me to run for town council for a long time. And I didn't want to until my kids were 16 because it's time consuming and, I wanted to enjoy time with my kids. But once they hit 16, I said, you know what, I'll do it. I'll run. And I'm not a single issue candidate and I wasn't like throw out the current council. I was more like, I just want to give back and I think I can do it at this level. I was volunteering with the age-friendly committee in town during COVID and there were some openings, on the council and I just felt like I wanted to do it. And I've enjoyed it. I'm running again,
Right.
So I'm up for re-election. I wouldn't be running again if I didn't, get value out of it. So yeah, that's how I got involved.
I'm going to give you a hard-hitting question.
Yep.
You can take the fifth.
Whoa.
But, you mentioned COVID.
Yeah.
And Dave and I were trying to coach kids during COVID. We were on outdoor courts, masks on.
Socially distanced.
There would be ash falling from the sky. I still remember one time being out at Hidden Valley School and we had the masks on and then the ash started to fall. It was just really bad fires and it was getting worse and worse. And so I had to cancel practice. But before I did, these kids had, ash on their hands.
Oh my gosh.
And then they were putting it over their mask and all the masks, it was just
Crazy times.
apocalyptic. But my question is, they're putting locks on the rims. Was that something that as a town council person you would have supported at that time?
No.
Come up?
No. I mean, that was the schools did that. And I think part of the reason they were doing it is they were getting kids that weren't from the school and high school kids, whatever, coming over, playing it late at night. No, I mean, I would not have supported that because it's an outdoor activity. I mean, we were encouraging people we started that live on the Avenue downtown.
Yeah.
We were encouraging people to get outside and find a way to gather. So no, I wouldn't have supported that.
Good. We can continue the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Duffy was gonna leave, Eileen.
Yeah.
The Live on the Avenue thing is fantastic. So that's where they shut down San Anselmo Avenue.
Yeah.
Is it Friday and Saturday nights?
Yeah. And this weekend's our last one. So for the season.
So when the weather's nice, there's music and food, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that's great. Joe, I wanna go back to your USF days. Can we do that? So you're there in the 50s. Bill Russell, obviously one of the great athletes and just members of America, right? I mean, just an incredible human being, but he dealt with some challenges. He dealt with unimaginable racism and bigotry. So what was that like for you being there during that time and seeing that firsthand?
Well, I don't think he dealt with that on the campus, racism, that is.
Okay.
He did in some specific games. I can remember a team from Texas trying to take him out. When he'd rebound, they'd cut his legs out from under him. I mean, really bad stuff. But I never heard him complain at all. He seemed like a very kind of a happy-go-lucky kid at the time. He was not a starter in high school. He played quite a bit, but he didn't start. And he wasn't really very good when he was a freshman either. I was a sophomore then, and we'd scrimmage with the freshmen.
Yeah.
You could just give him a little head fake or something, and he'd fall all over himself. Not the next year. And it just kept getting better and better and better and continued, I think, as a pro. He just got better all the time as he grew into his body. And he was a very determined, single-minded guy about playing basketball.
Oh, he was, and
he turned out to be a very good athlete.
Absolutely.
He almost made the Olympics as a high jumper with no coaching. He just saw what they did.
Yeah.
And he could run it was 400 yards in those days, and we only competed against local schools like Cal, SF State, and so on. And he'd come in third. That's a big 6'10" guy. That's very athletic and high jumping too. He got up to his own height, I'm sure, 6'10", maybe 6'11", almost good enough for the Olympics.
Yeah. So and Casey Jones was there. as well, right? So
Yes.
for our listeners, Bill Russell, one of the greatest players in the history of the NBA, won I don't know how many titles with the Celtics as a player. Casey Jones was a great player in his own right, and then went on to coach the Celtics when Larry Bird and Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale were there. He won multiple titles as a coach. So what was Casey Jones like?
He was an easygoing, laid-back guy. I don't think he had any problems in school or with the team. There just wasn't any racial dissension at all.
Yeah.
They were like everybody else, particularly Casey. Casey, I thought, could move in any group.
Yeah.
Easily. He was a terrific athlete. He's the kind of a guy that could have been a star at anything. In fact, I believe the LA Rams wanted him to come and play as an end. And he was a good player in high school. Very athletic. He would have been a terrific fighter.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to think now that USF, this little school in San Francisco, 20-minute drive from here,
1,200 students at the time.
1,200 students, and they won the national title.
The football team was probably, arguably one of the best college football teams of all time.
Okay, so let's stop there. So fans, USF had a football team, because now they don't, obviously, and haven't for a long time. So I didn't know that. That's
great. On the starting team, both tackles became All-Pro, Marchetti and St. Clair.
Huh.
Then the running back, the star was Ollie Matson, who was
of course.
an All-American.
Yeah.
He was an All-American only on defense. That was racially motivated in college. But he was an All-Pro. I think there were 7 of them drafted in the first round, and 5 of them were All-Pro.
Wow.
One of the guards, Red Stevens, was an All-Pro, and Burl Toller, one of the only 2 black players on the team, was a center and a linebacker. And he was they thought in the college all-star game that he was practicing for, that they used to have every year.
Yeah.
They'd play the pros, He was considered maybe the best football player on the field by a lot of the pundits, and then he got hurt in that all-star game and never played. So that was a remarkable time, and you probably know that they were invited to play, I think it was the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
They were untied, unbeaten, and uninvited, as it became known. And I think maybe the school's finest hour was when the coach called the football team together and said, well, we'll take a vote whether we go or not, because people who ran the Sugar Bowl said you can come, but don't bring those 2 black players.
Wow.
I think it might have been Marchetti who stood up and said, Coach, we don't need a vote. Burl.
And Ollie. Who was the other one?
Yeah, Ollie, don't go. We don't play.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That was
True.
70 years ago.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's an inspiration. That's what a real team is, That's a great story.
Oh, those guys wanted to play. They could taste it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough.
Getting back to the basketball there, I was looking, over the years where Russell was there, and so he didn't play on varsity, it looked like, at all in his freshman year. So he was on the team, but he wasn't even listed on the
I
roster.
think you could, right?
Was that true? You
Freshmen couldn't play on varsity?
No, freshmen couldn't play on the varsity then.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
I think Lou Alcindor had the same issue.
Yeah. And then, so the record was like a little below 500, and then they had a pretty good year his sophomore year, and then junior, senior lost maybe 3 or 4 games combined over those 2 years. And then they went back to regression to the mean.
Joe, as a coach, Eileen, you coached as well. I had one coach tell me one time, how do you get to be a really good coach? Get really good players.
Well, that helps.
Yeah.
So probably the same coach at USF
Yeah.
from one year to the next. Oh, got Bill Russell. All of a sudden we win.
Well, those were all local kids, too.
You know what? That was my question for you. So national championship basketball team, top-ranked football team, from this little USF, were they pulling from primarily Northern California, or were they recruiting from all over?
Primarily Northern California.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the outliers were from places like Tulare.
Okay. Central Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah. But primarily California kids.
Right. And we also, I think, had the national tennis championship that year, and the ROTC won the shooting contest.
Wow. Okay.
We're a little school of 1,200 kids.
Yeah. Come on, USF. Pick it up.
Yeah, I think now that soccer's their claim to fame.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they do pretty good in basketball, and they've produced a lot of good coaches. They can't seem to keep them because of bigger schools pay them more money and hire them away.
Yeah.
But they've done well, I think.
Yeah.
In their own conference, against St. Mary's and Gonzaga, who kind of dominate, and USF's right behind them.
Yeah, no, they're
close
competing.
behind them.
Yep, absolutely. They're
with different coaches about every 2 years.
Right. Well, that's kind of the state of college athletics right now is in flux because of the money that's in it now, the NIL and the transfer portal. And I've talked to a lot of college coaches who've said it's really tough right now, particularly at the Division I level.
Yeah.
Everyone's had to adapt really quickly.
Yeah.
There are guys that play 6 years in college.
Yeah.
I would go back to college for 6 years.
Sure.
Yeah. Right.
Eileen, let's jump ahead a little bit to when your dad is coaching Marin Catholic and you were
I'm playing at the same time.
Are you playing at the same time? Okay.
Yeah.
Describe his coaching style.
Oh, be careful.
Yeah. Well, I think he gets to know the players really well. He's remained friends with a bunch of them after coaching, for years, 30 years or more, 40 years even. I think sometimes it's a pressure style a little bit, but he'll also get in there and show you exactly what to do physically. I've seen him do that. I've seen him yell at players for sure, but sort of as a cheerleader more than as a top-down punishment.
More positive yelling than negative yelling?
Yeah, well, cheering on in a way. But certainly I've seen him yell at players too. Not in the elementary level, but at high school. High school is a whole different kind of ball of wax.
What about coaching you? Was it different in any way than coaching?
He never coached me.
I don't think I
He never
coached
actually
him much.
formally coached me. And I'm not even sure he informally coached me either. And at that time, the girls and boys teams played at the opposite school. So, if Drake boys played Marin Catholic, they'd play at Marin Catholic and the girls would be at Drake. So he wouldn't see me play really very often because he'd be getting ready for his game.
Sure.
So, I can't say that he ever really coached me.
Probably just as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
Except for when running for town council.
He's assisted. He's assisted with that. He's like, you should have got into politics sooner.
I got St. Anselmo's vote. I'm the coffee lady at the 10 o'clock mass, and I got Matucci's. Yeah. Hell, you can win any election with those two.
Absolutely.
In a little town.
Yeah, he had my sign up at Matucci's.
That's great.
I don't know. How would you describe your coaching style?
Well, the yelling, I don't think I did a lot of yelling. I always tried to be positive. The players are there trying to be as good as they possibly can. So the idea, I think, is to make them even better.
Right.
So if you yell at somebody, say, oh, for God's sake, you can do better than that. That's positive. But if you say, oh, for God's sake, you're the craps, well, that's no good.
You can do no better than that.
Yeah, that works. I mean, that's not just basketball. That's in everything, I think.
So, Joe, Jeff Skaggs.
I'll tell you one thing I did learn over time, though, was not to really ball out a guy or spend a lengthy time correcting or chastising a player in front of the other players. We had a kid named Stone who was the captain of the team. He was a guard. And we had a center, Donati, who played very poorly against Tam. And after the next practice after that game, I was inspired by God or something. I had a meeting after practice with Donati and Mike Stone, the captain. And I went over what I thought he did poorly and impressed on him that in these coming practices, you got to correct that. And we lost that game to Tam. And the second time we played him, he just shut their center down, who killed us the first time. And that was a big lesson for me in coaching. I think that helped me a lot, is that if you're going to really spend time trying to buck a kid up, don't do it in front of the other players. Don't ball them out in front of the other players, and do it afterwards.
And why'd you have Stone there?
Because I knew that how this went down would go back to the players. They're going to talk about, here's what coach did.
So you thought he'd back you up?
Yeah. And then he was a part of it. And I don't think he said much, but he agreed with me.
So we're good friends with Jeff Skaggs. We were talking about Jeff before we started recording. Jeff played for you at MC, and he texted us a few anecdotes, Joe. He said one was in the huddle, he still remembers that you would say to the big guys, "Give us a bound," for a rebound.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he said that some of my MC teammates still say that for kicks to this day. He then remembered you guys blowing out the then 12-1 Terra Linda team by 15 or so on their home court. And in the locker room, you were wearing a pinstripe suit, you said. And you said, "I've been waiting for this moment all season," and you busted out a nice cigar and lit it up in the locker room.
I don't remember that, but
As a celebration.
sounds plausible.
Yeah. So when we texted Jeff that we were interviewing you, he wrote right back. He's so excited. He loved playing for you. And he mentioned Donati and a few other guys that he played with that still speak very warmly and lovingly of you as a coach.
Well, he's one of those kids I spotted when he was on the JVs. I don't think he was a starter,
Correct.
but you could tell he was a big gangly kid that had some ability, and it caught up to him in his senior year. He was a very good player as a senior. I think he got a scholarship to Montana.
He went to Southern Utah.
Utah.
But we interviewed him, and Jeff, Duffy and I both played with Jeff. I played in adult leagues with Jeff many years ago when I was in high school, and Jeff was a guy who kept getting better even after college.
Yeah.
So he would play
bloomer.
A late bloomer. So he'd play in the Drake Summer League against NBA players, and he's holding his own.
Uh-huh.
And he said that, in high school, like he barely made varsity. Yeah, like you said. I mean, he was on kind of the lower level teams, and he just kept getting better and better. And then in his mid-20s, that was when he really peaked.
Find out how big their parents are.
Exactly. That's a good indicator.
And for the record, Joe does not have a pinstripe suit on, nor does he have a cigar, although he did have a gray cat draped on his leg for the last 10 minutes or so.
Yes, exactly.
I think that there was one team that after you won, they like all lit up cigars or something.
Well, that was, we played Jesuit High School up in Sacramento.
Yeah.
And there were two vehicles. We needed a second vehicle, so I bought one with the MC colors, a van.
For our family.
So I had that. And then there was another van one of the kids had, I guess. And on the way back, we're going down the highway, on our way home, and the other van pulls up. I'd left my box of cigars in that van. They were all smoking.
That's great. You wouldn't see that anymore.
No.
We got another one from Tim Hurley, who
Good player.
played for you.
Uh-huh.
This is a funny story.
There's another kid who was a late bloomer.
He said, on a personal note, when I hadn't seen Coach in a few years and he was promoting fights, I said, "Coach, you need to get me a fight at the Marin Civic Center." And you said, "Hurley, if I got you a fight, I'd have to book the Oakland Coliseum because I know at least 20,000 people who would love to see you get your ass kicked."
Well, he's another kid who was a late bloomer. He was kind of a chubby kid when he was on the junior varsity. And then he played football. I didn't realize how big he'd gotten. And when he came into the gym for basketball practice, I tell you, my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe that was the same kid. He's now 6'3", maybe, and probably 190 pounds.
Yeah. That's great. Eileen, you've had experiences coaching. You have a boy and a girl.
Yep.
I assume you've had experience coaching both boys and girls.
Yep.
Discuss how the differences in approach that you take when you're coaching boys versus girls.
So I coached both my kids in elementary school at CYO. The boys already know everything.
Of course.
And way, way more energy. And the girls are much more receptive, but also a little bit at the young ages, want to dance during practice and not as focused.
Right.
So at that age, I'm not trying to, reprimand too much. I'm letting them take the direction they want to take.
Yeah.
So it's for the kids that want to learn some skills, great. I'm going to teach them. And for those that don't, that's okay too. Because it's kind of everybody signs up, everybody's on a team. It's not some select group.
Sure.
I had some very talented athletes on the girls' team, and we pressed the whole game. It's kind of like beginning soccer. Everyone can run.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was kind of fun, just to let them go. And then you also you teach them skills in practice that how to set a screen that they can't do it in the game, and like trying to explain that to the parents, like, look, ask your kid what it is to set a screen and they'll show you, but don't expect it at third or fourth grade during the game. They're not ready for that yet. It takes much more practice to be able to do it. So setting expectations with parents is a huge part of that.
Yeah.
At White Hill was the first time I had to cut just because of the number of kids that went out, and got a call from a parent, can't you put my kid on the team? Just one more, and so that was kind of a hard conversation, which I started with. It's not about your kid's attitude. Your kid's great. It's just a really talented group and we couldn't keep everyone. And they're like, but what about one more? And I'm like, well, if I had one more, it wouldn't be her, and I'm like, we're just not going to do that.
Yeah.
And so, and then, got a call from the principal. Why'd you cut this kid? And why'd you cut other kids? And, same spiel, but.
How many did you have to cut?
Like 5 or 6,
5 or 6. Okay. How big was your team?
We already had almost 15.
Yeah, that's not
and it's you can't even run practice, and then kids don't play, and then you hear from parents because kids don't play, so. And I was really good with the kids about you're a great kid. This is just a super talented team, and you just aren't going to make it. But
yeah.
That's a tough conversation.
Yeah, and here we are, as Duff said, we're late September, probably air this sometime in October, November, but we're right at this time of year so kids are playing volleyball right now, but basketball season is right around the corner. And actually I've been working with, our St. Sebastian CYO organizers about evaluations and tryouts. And this is always that dicey time where kids are put on A or B teams.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the right answer is play on the B team, get touches, build some confidence. Jeff Skaggs, a perfect example.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Not everybody can make the A team, and not everybody should make the A team.
Yeah.
But those are hard conversations to have with parents who, particularly nowadays, right? I know you're a modern parent, but when we were growing up, people weren't spending a lot of money on skills trainers and club sports, and now they do. So they think their kid's going to be in the NBA or WNBA.
Yeah, the whole growth of that is such a difficult issue, I think. I have such mixed feelings about club sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
Our kids played some of it. My son played some 1 year club basketball and then a lot of club soccer. Mm-hmm. And we sort of felt like for my kids who weren't superstars, that it was important for them to play sports in high school. That was sort of really our goal. Was I wanted to make sure they made varsity teams in high school and had that social experience. And so that the little amount of club sports they played, I think, allowed them to make those teams.
Sure.
But I never thought for a second that my kids were getting scholarships anywhere or that that's what it was about. And once they made those teams, we stopped.
Right.
It was that was the goal.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, that was the reason. Yeah. But I know families where kids start at a very young age and are playing a single sport year round, and I don't think it's very healthy. And it's decimated rec leagues. We think about that here in the town of San Anselmo. Our rec leagues have just been decimated. Baseball, we've stopped baseball here. We do pretty well with basketball and soccer.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then my son, played soccer for a while until he had concussions. And then as a freshman, he took up volleyball with no practice, no training. There is no boys volleyball at the elementary level other than club.
Yeah.
It's opposite of girls where you can play CYO volleyball, but it's not there for boys. So he played a year or two at absolute volleyball,
sure,
and that really got him up to speed.
Great.
So yeah, our kids played multiple sports. That was kind of important for me, that they not, focus on only one.
Totally agree. And I think that's a great message. I was hanging out with the Stanford women's head coach, Kate Pay, because one of the girls I coach is going to Stanford next year.
Carly, right?
Carly.
Yeah.
Great kid. And Kate Pay was saying that in Carly's year, so they have 4 recruits for next year who have signed. They are all multiple sport varsity athletes.
Yeah.
So volleyball, softball. Carly's a fantastic tennis player, obviously like her mom. And Kate was saying that she's thrilled that these kids are multi-sport athletes, and she thinks that it informs their basketball. It makes them better basketball players.
For sure, I think it gives you better skills. Like I thought that about Karen Chapelis, that she played soccer and she had the quickest first step I'd ever seen. And it was because of soccer. She played all those years of soccer. So yeah, I think it does.
Yeah.
And I just think it's different muscle groups. You're less likely to get injured. And each of the sports has a different relationship with the other players. Some are more single focused and others are team focused.
Yep.
So I think it makes you more well-rounded socially, and
Great point.
yeah, sort of just how you deal with defeat and winning and
Yep.
all of that. So I think it's personal, it gives personal growth if you're playing multiple sports.
Great.
That's why Dave continues to play pickleball to help out his hoops game,
I
right?
just started.
At an
Did you
elite
just
level,
start?
Duffy. Duffy and I were paired together in a pickleball tournament. Eileen, we did not win.
Yeah.
Didn't go well.
We won several points at least.
A couple. I wouldn't say several.
It's yeah.
Won some points.
Sure.
My kids were home from college for the summer, and my son needs a couple PE classes just for his degree, and so I signed he and I up for pickleball at College of Marin this summer.
That's great.
And it was mostly 55 to 85-year-old women and my 20-year-old son. The coach is the men's basketball coach, so just this funny little world.
That's great.
And yeah, so some of the women who'd been tennis players were like, "Oh, he must have had lessons," and I'm like, "No, he's 20." That's why he's good. So,
Well,
yeah.
as you may know, Eileen, I'm an ER physician here in Marin,
Yeah.
and we have two epidemics going on. One is the older population playing pickleball and coming in with the ankles and Achilles and wrists. And the other is the younger teenagers on their micro mobility e-bikes crashing into stuff.
Going
Yeah.
48 miles an hour without helmets.
We're dealing with that issue here in town.
Yep.
All right, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask these two San Anselmo stalwarts about the Drake Summer League in the 80s. Just talk about your memories of the Summer League.
So I would go watch a lot, because there were such good games there. And I even remember growing up playing on the outdoor courts, with the chain nets. And
Yeah.
I can hear
Playing against the boys? Or would
yeah,
you play
I'd
with
get in games there
Yeah.
when I was in high school. I'd go down there in the summer, and play.
On your own? You go down just
Yeah.
solo? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
and
Good for you.
even before a little bit, you could always go down there and play. Like the sound of a chain net, I can still hear in my
Oh,
head.
for sure.
It's just
Childhood.
But yeah, that was a loss when those courts were taken out. So and there was open gym too, a lot of open gym at Drake where you could just go show up before it was all programmed into camps and all that stuff. So yeah, I thought it was super exciting to see, high quality players come down and watch them. I don't even know if that exists anywhere anymore. Not just Marin, but anywhere,
Well, it certainly helped basketball in the city. When I grew up, every school had a director afterwards, and it was usually a college kid. And he put the balls out and kind of oversaw what was going on. So you played basketball year round. And older guys who were like when I was in grammar school, high school kids would come down and play with grammar school kids. That really accelerates your abilities. I lived in Park Merced for a while, and San Francisco State hadn't been built, but they had barracks there for vets. And those guys would come and play when I was in high school. So you're playing with men,
That's
men
great.
who were 23 years old probably.
Yeah.
That's how Drake was.
So that really helped. That's why there were so many good basketball players coming out of San Francisco, I think, was because of that program that the schools had.
That's great. And also San Francisco has a great pickup basketball culture.
That's what that was.
And Cappy Lavin is a legend of the playground, right? At Rochambeau Park. I mean, throwing the, backdoor cuts and so we've talked a lot. It's a recurring theme of this podcast is this kind of the lost art of playing pickup basketball, right? Which the Drake outdoor courts were the mecca in Marin for that.
Well, everything now is like team sports and run by an adult.
And it's club.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually the other night we had open gym I coached the girls at San Domenico. We had an open gym and I had some of the girls show up and they started to play and I started to point out a few things and I was like, you know what? I need to shut up.
Yeah.
They just need to play. Without a coach watching them, they just need to play.
That must have been hard for you, Dave.
Duffy, I'm so good at not talking.
Yeah. Pickup basketball, I mean, that was really all I played until I got to high school. And I continued to, but,
Yeah.
Your one-on-one skills just develop, in ways that it's hard to even describe. I mean, it's constantly playing against different quality players, different level.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of 3-on-3.
Yeah.
So, which is, I think a great way to start.
Oh, absolutely. And then Joe, to your point, playing against older, bigger, stronger players, that's how you get better. We talk to Mike Fulton about this all the time, that Larry would always have Mike and Chris Fulton, go play up. They're in 6th grade. They're playing against 7th or 8th graders. They're playing the bigger kids, and that's how the Fultons got so good. And it's a common theme.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a little pickup occasionally out front, but no, it's just not. Everything is organized. And even occasionally an adult will come with kids to try to coach them out on my front lawn. I'm like, this
Wow.
isn't for that. I shut it down.
So talk about
mini hoop.
Talk about mini hoop. Talk about your front lawn.
Yeah. So we bought this house 12 years ago, and it was a total fixer. The backyard was a wasteland. The front yard was a muddy lawn. And our kids then were 8-year-old twins. And so the first thing we did was put the turf in.
Yeah.
Just because so they'd have a place to play. And, we never wanted a fence. We wanted it to be an open yard, open to the neighborhood and social. And about 5 years ago, we just started doing the backyard and really debated where to put a basketball hoop. And my husband wanted to put it back here. And first of all, we didn't really have the space back here, but I wanted this to be more private. And so I really pushed for it to be on the front lawn, know. And he didn't think anybody would play at it. And it's become super popular. Now it's kind of like a private park almost, or really it's public. Any kid can come play. The hoop is adjustable in terms of the height, so it can go down to, I'm 5'8" and I can just stand and dunk on it.
Yeah.
So little kids can do that, and then it goes up to regular height, which it's almost never at regular height. It's always at some lower level. And about 4 years ago, some 5th graders riding their bike to Wade Thomas in the morning just stopped. They saw a ball on the lawn, stopped and took a few shots before going to school.
Yeah.
Then they showed up after school, and then more and more kids kept doing it. And so now pretty much every day there's kids out there playing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And we're right by downtown San Anselmo.
Yeah.
So what a great, one of the kind of themes of what we wanted to talk about with you is the marriage of community and athletics, and how, they kind of inform each other, right? And that's a perfect example.
Yeah. So I've like that picnic table that's out front. It used to be right here, but we weren't using it much. So I'm like, I invite people to use it. A lot of people comment about, letting kids play out there. And I kind of grew up like that, where we rode our bikes everywhere and hung out at each other's houses, and parents moms mostly kept an eye on us, but sort of free range, which I think a lot of kids are still now. But inviting them onto my lawn encourages that, and a little bit, I feel like it's modeling for other families to be the same, But 3 doors down is Tam House, which is independent older adults, and a couple of the women from that come and shoot.
Oh, really? Wow.
And at first they could not even make it to the hoop from like halfway to what would be the free throw line, but they're pretty good now. They come and they'll each take about 10 shots until they're tired, and so that's been kind of fun too. Is those women coming down and playing.
And are the kids that come by respectful? And I might have one kid in mind when I ask that question.
They are. So I'm like probably the only person that kids bring me cookies. Like literally, or their parents will pull up and drop them off.
Oh, that's
and
great.
Sometimes like they'll look at me and they're sort of embarrassed. Like, I'm dropping my kid off at a house I don't know.
Yeah.
And
that's great.
Or they'll be like, oh, you live there? Like once they realize who I am too. But no, there are rules out there. They're posted. I don't know if you saw them. They're really basic, like don't swear and be considerate and don't leave your garbage around. Don't hang on the rim, though they do. It's starting to.
Have you had to replace it?
Not
One
yet.
of Duffy's questions or Holden's questions, I'm not sure. Any broken rims?
No, we haven't had to replace it. I do occasionally reprimand kids that hang on the rim. And I get why they want to. It's fun. They can dunk and kind of swing on it and that. But it is getting bent.
Yeah.
And no, I haven't had to replace it. It's mostly middle school kids, but occasional high school kids too.
Okay.
Or, adults walking by will take a shot or two, but, they won't really get a game going.
Yes.
I did have 2 summers ago, some college kids wanted to run a camp on my front lawn and just didn't ask, just showed up with kids. And I was like, no, that's not for that. You guys got to go.
Hey, entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Got to respect it.
Exactly.
But no.
Yeah,
What's the biggest game? Has there been a 5-on-5 game there?
I don't, some little kids maybe, but I think maybe 3-on-3 is about as big as it gets.
Seems like it's a good size for 3-on-3.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's about it. And there's nobody even tries a 3-point shot.
Of
That's
course,
the other
yeah.
benefit is it's an all inside game.
Yeah.
So, and I like that about it,
That's
that nobody's bombing up threes.
That's a good departure from today's style of
It
basketball.
is. Yeah. It makes them, all these kids with their back to the basket, like,
Yeah.
want to get fed. And
Back old school. I like it.
yeah.
What about you, Joe? Do you get some dunks in out there? You go.
I don't think he's even shot at it. He thinks it's funny that we have it.
I did want to ask you though, just going back a little bit. So you had multiple knee injuries. It sounds like that kind of wrecked
On
any
one
fo-
knee,
On
yeah.
one knee. All right. So I've had 6 surgeries on this one, so I can definitely.
Yeah, I see. I've
empathize.
got a zipper just like.
Yeah. But did you at some point come back to playing like pickup basketball? Like when you were coaching, did you play with your team at all, or was the knee kind
Very little. I quit coaching basketball when I was in my early 50s, and I was really concentrating on the fighters that I trained.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Did you miss it? Did you miss playing?
No,
Really?
I didn't. I mean, I was very disappointed when I hurt my knee the last time.
Yeah.
I knew that was the end of my basketball career. And I was very disappointed by it. And then my mother said to me, "Oh, well, thank God you didn't lose your leg. God, I could have shot her. I can't just come home in all this pain. My basketball career is shot."
So was that?
But that
probably
was
an
my
ACL?
mother. Huh?
It was probably an ACL injury, although they.
No, the kneecap slipped out of place.
Oh, okay.
And it tore off the tendons. So I had an operation where they
yeah,
reattached them.
yeah, okay, that's a bad one. Yeah.
And then that leg never came back. I did all kinds of exercises, but in those days I had a cast on, and I had it on for a long time. Geez, when I took it off, my leg was like that.
I miss it still. I miss playing.
And boxing was really more my love.
At that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have you on our boxing podcast once we start to have some
We've got
spin-offs
some
here.
crunch time questions for you, Joe, about boxing.
Yeah.
Well, that's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Eileen, I'm concerned that you're going to be down at Cat because Duffy's sitting there. He looks kind of like Dr. Evil petting Mr. Bigglesworth.
Yeah.
Eileen's cat is draped over him.
He is a super social guy. I don't think there's anybody
Zerg.
that he doesn't
Zerg is
like.
his name.
So's Duffy, by the way.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing.
Well, so we've had a cat for about 9 years in my house. This is already more time on the lap here than the total aggregate amount of lap time I've had with my cat.
It's an outdoor cat.
Wasn't supposed to be, but became one.
Yeah. No,
Cats, they're doing their own thing.
Yeah. He's super friendly.
Well, Duff, I think we've reached crunch time.
Crunch time, yeah.
So this is we just ask you kind of quick, rapid fire questions, but then it ends up always we drone on. But ready for some quick on the spot questions?
We'll make allowances for the time for response.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no time. There's no shot clock, Joe. Let's start with you, Joe. Favorite boxer ever?
Sugar Ray Robinson.
Sugar Ray Robinson. My dad would say the same. Any close seconds?
Joe Louis. I had 4 heroes. Those 2,
Yep.
Tony Zale and Billy Kahn.
Okay.
And I have a soft spot for the last 2.
Yeah.
But
Sugar Ray is the best.
yeah, the last 2 weren't as gifted as the 2, Joe and Sugar, but they were very special.
Do you think boxing will ever come back and be what it was when you were growing up, when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, when we had these figures? Boxing figures were really celebrities, right? I mean, Ali was obviously transcendent, but do you think it's going to come back, or do you think it's kind of...
I would say no. Our culture has changed.
Yeah.
They're even having trouble now fielding high school football teams because of the concussion problems. You multiply that umpteen times in boxing.
Yeah.
But it'll always be around.
Yeah. You got one?
Eileen, totally different topic. Best bagel shop in Marin County.
Barton's by far.
I mean, that was such a loaded
It
question.
was.
How about
That's a softball.
Okay, given that it's Barton's,
That's
what
a
is your
softball.
favorite bagel at Barton's?
I like
How
the
about
sesame.
So do
That's
I.
my go-to.
Salt bagel,
Oh, really?
toasted,
Yeah.
yeah. Turkey, cheese, salt bagel.
I usually go with the breakfast bagel.
Oh, that's a good choice too.
Yeah.
We have some San Anselmo gardening work in the background.
Yeah,
so
sorry. Do you want to
apologize
move?
for the noise. Hopefully people can hear. Okay, Eileen, staying with you. Best basketball player that you ever saw in Marin? Men,
Boys and
boys
girls.
and girls.
Yeah, boys, Walt Gillespie.
Walt Gillespie. Okay.
Yeah. Girls, probably Brooke Smith, but I think Carly Amborn is probably going to be up there. I don't think she's there yet, but definitely has the potential.
Give her one more season.
Yeah. And I saw her more as a freshman when she was on the team with my daughter.
Yeah.
And she wasn't what she is now. She's gotten better, a lot better every year.
She's worked really hard.
Yeah. But those two.
Brooke, phenomenal. And Walt Gillespie, I mean, that's a common answer. If we were to map out the responses to that, I mean, it's a lot of Chavez's are often mentioned.
Yeah, I never saw Eddie Joe play.
I didn't see him in high school.
I saw Greg. I've seen Buck. Buck's a year ahead of me, and my dad coached Buck in CYO.
Yeah.
I've seen Terry play. So yeah, they weren't there, because I didn't see Eddie Joe. The others I don't think were as talented as Walt Gillespie. Walt Gillespie, when I saw him play, he was on a whole different level than everyone else around him. Like, it just physically as well as skills.
Yeah.
It just didn't come. It was an eye-opening. Like, I'd never seen a player like that.
Yeah.
And it was fun. Yeah.
That's great.
Although I think I mentioned to you, I was at the game, I always want to say Drake, but the Archie Williams game where Owen Bugus, I called the game before where I think he scored 35 or something. And then I was at the next game where he was like 40 something.
47.
Yeah. That may have been the greatest individual performance I've seen in Marin.
24 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. It was, not that I think he was the most talented I'd ever seen, but maybe the best performance in a game I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Super impressive. And just the way the rest of the team was just feeding him. Like, he was so on fire. It was really amazing to watch.
We were recently torturing ourselves by watching the tape of that on our coach's text chain. And, all sorts of things come out, when you're watching it on tape. But, it was just even more amazing the shots he was hitting in that fourth quarter, because Piedmont was playing 3-2 zone, and wherever Owen went, they shifted the zone heavily over his direction, even if he didn't have the ball. I mean, they were just so focused on stopping him, but he still scored 24 points in a quarter.
And I'm sure you probably see it on the tape, but the other teammates are so unselfish about just feeding him, I mean, they weren't really able to do much at all. He was on fire.
We needed one other person to hit a couple shots.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Joe, best player you ever coached?
I don't like to say.
Worst player you ever coached?
Why don't you like to say?
Because I don't like to single out one kid over the rest of the kids.
How about this? Who are notable great players you coached against that you remember?
That big black kid from San Rafael, what was his name? And Redwood had some good players. Troby, a big center for them, played at Stanford.
Right.
Those are the most outstanding ones I can think of.
Yeah.
I'm going to rephrase the question. A player you coached that made you smile more than any other player?
Maybe Mike Stone.
He was your captain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How come?
He was just such a tough little kid. And he was a winner. He didn't score. I didn't use him right. I should have had him shooting the ball a lot more. We were in the championship game against Terra Linda, and when Donati fouled out, we were in deep trouble. And Stone, who never scored more than about 8 points, took over the game. I think he ended up with about 25 points. He was just a dynamo. He was just such a good team player and such a winner that he had a big effect on the other kids.
Yeah, that's so important. That's so important.
Yeah, the best player on the team doesn't always get the most points.
Right.
And you're talking about that 47-point game of Gillespie or whoever. I had a kid one year who was all league, Lance Phillips.
Oh, sure. Great player.
Yeah.
Well, he was on a team of 4 other clunks. None of them could shoot.
Yeah.
So,
he still owns a lot of records in
Lance could
so
play.
everything revolved around him.
Yeah.
I think he averaged something like 33 points a game.
Duff, I have a new term I'm going to use.
He was another real winner too.
Yeah.
He would leave them in even when they were going to win games, just so he could score more and maybe would get some attention, you know, from colleges.
Right.
I remember there was some pushback from parents about that.
Yeah.
That's a tough balance. Yeah.
Okay.
You were talking earlier about playing all kinds of games. I think that's awfully good for the kids in high school. And a lot of coaches won't allow it. If you're a good basketball player, they don't want you to play football or baseball.
Right.
I think that's a mistake. I think the more things you play, the better it is for you.
Totally agree.
Somehow water polo is taking away some of our best athletes for basketball.
Well, we're sending Olympians from Marin playing water polo. So
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually the one sort of downside of the growth of girls' sports is they have to choose now, sports at the same season.
well, yeah, soccer and basketball
Soccer
are
and
both.
basketball.
So you lose a lot of good athletes.
That's a bummer. Yeah.
And then club volleyball players often don't play basketball for whatever reason,
Right.
because of the competitive nature of volleyball now on the girls' side.
Yep.
You've experienced that, right, Dave?
Yes, indeed. Okay, Eileen, this is controversial. Not as controversial as the Barton's Bagels question. Favorite restaurant in Marin?
Oof.
Outside of San Anselmo?
The Buckeye.
No, I'm letting her look.
Yeah,
She
I'm-
went outside. San
Yeah, I did
Anselmo.
go outside. I went to the Buckeye.
Okay.
I don't go there a lot, but it's sort of a special occasion spot. So
Great
Good choice.
spot.
Yeah.
Good choice. Yeah.
Love that one.
They could open up another branch here in San Anselmo. That would be fine.
yeah, I in San Anselmo, I don't want to say.
Oh.
That's a little too close.
It is.
Literally too close to home.
Yeah, but yeah, the Buckeye. His favorites here in San Anselmo, I think.
Valenti.
Yeah, Valenti.
Oh, Valenti. That was the next question, Joe. Okay, that's on San Anselmo Avenue. It's
It is.
Italian place.
Yeah.
Great food.
Yeah. Good atmosphere. And they got a great tomato D.
Old people and their parents.
How many times a week do you go there?
I don't go there all that often. I go maybe once every 2 months.
That's a good cadence.
But I don't eat out much.
Do we have any more crunch time questions? Do you have any crunch time questions for us?
Yeah.
We've never done that before, but that's
Wow.
we're winging it today, Dave.
3-point line in high school, yes or no?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. Well, Duffy's a 3-point shooter.
Okay.
Eileen. So yeah, I think it's been good. Actually, Jeff Skaggs, we talked about this with Jeff a while ago. He's not a fan of the 3-point line, but I think 3-point line has been good for high school basketball. It's been abused a bit. I mean, your point about how out in your front yard now people need to kind of play down low and they can't shoot outside. That's a lost skill. But I do think the 3-point line has made it basketball exciting.
Is high school where you'd start it? Would you say not before high school?
Maybe 8th grade?
Yeah, 7th or 8th grade, I think is okay.
I think you want to give them at least 1 year before high school so they can adjust. But I did not, because I coached my son all the way through, I did not like having a 3-point line out there at younger ages because it did encourage them to just chuck it up there. They're not strong enough to have good form. We had very strict rules about, what circumstances people were allowed to shoot threes.
Yeah.
So I think you do need to do that, and just getting rid of it altogether probably, would solve that at younger ages.
Yeah. Okay. I got a couple more.
Yeah.
Here's one I'm always curious about high school coaches. Keep a senior that maybe won't play much or a sophomore who's developing.
No, that's an easy answer.
I would say, go ahead, Duff, you go first.
I think, it's one of those questions that's very situation dependent. But I would say, generally speaking, if it's a senior who has been through the program all the way and they have bought in, they have shown up as much as they can, they're a good teammate, and even if they're not going to play, they're part of the team and have been, then I would keep the senior in that circumstance. But of course, you could see, if this sophomore was going to be a D1 player, it's hard to, that type of player. I would probably just try and create room for them both in that circumstance.
Yeah, but my answer was yes to both.
Yeah.
But I would absolutely, if the senior is a good human and they put in the effort and they show up and they care, I would absolutely find a spot for them on the team. And the sophomore, we have this debate all the time about should a talented sophomore who might get some minutes on the varsity play up or play JV, start, score 15, 20 a game, get touches, get game experience. That's a really situation specific one. I've, in my older age, have become more biased to saying, play JV and get game experience. And then your junior year, you'll be ready to go hit the ground running. But sometimes it's better for the kids to get exposure to the varsity practices every day, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you got a sophomore who's just a world beater.
And in that case,
You got to play them.
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But you can do both there too. Like you could practice with the varsity and then play JV or toggle up and back and forth a little bit, which is probably the ideal.
Yeah.
To the extent that the logistics allow you to do it.
I've seen that situation on a lot of teams and teams my kids were on, and have come around to keep the sophomore because I think you end up sometimes with dissension on the bench.
Yeah.
If you keep seniors that don't play. And it's just, I think, like one of the hardest coaching decisions when you have good kids, that you want to keep, but, everybody can't play. That's the problem with high school, right? You get to that level where everybody can't play or isn't going to play.
A lot of the parents don't understand that.
Well, I think it's also what kind of effort is the kid putting in practice, right? So if it's a senior that doesn't play, but if they're kind of going through the motions in practice and not pushing the starters, that's not as beneficial to the team. But if they're busting it in practice and playing hard and diving on the floor and really pushing the first team, you're making us better, even if you're not getting minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good question.
Very good
Hard hitting
question. Yeah.
crunch time question.
Sorry.
Well, sometimes you keep players for what they do in practice. And so our two team we have two big guys. They're going to almost surely start almost all the time or most of the time. And in practice, they need to play together on the same team because they need to have the chemistry.
Yeah.
But there's not anyone their size in practice to guard them.
Right.
And so, yeah, I don't know what we're going to do, but you
bring in Tom Poser to
we could potentially, we are going to do that. Bring in, maybe just talking to Burke Frazier this morning about having him come in.
Yeah.
And
he's my nephew,
Yeah, great kid. Yeah, we just had the conversation with him 3 hours ago. Can you come in and, bang around against our big guys in practice?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Another question.
Yes.
Do you practice the girls against boys at all? And if not, why not?
Any opportunity, yes. And last year, actually, in the playoffs, Fulton and I had a few San Domenico boys come down and be the second team and play against us. Yeah. I'm biased. In college, I was the guy playing against the women's team. That's what I did.
Yeah.
And Vanderveer's philosophy, and it's not just her. Almost every Division I program now does this, where if they don't have regular guys in practice every day, at least once a week, they'll scrimmage against guys. Just because the game is a little different. It's generally faster. It's generally more physical. Now, the women's game has become faster and more physical in the last 25 years.
Much.
So that difference is not as drastic as it was 25 years ago. But absolutely. And Carly Amborn's a great example. Carly Amborn played CYO. Her entire CYO life was playing on the boys.
Yeah.
Playing against boys. Kylie Horsemeyer played against boys. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think I got better, even though I wasn't on a team playing against boys in the playground all the time and at Drake, and that was really how I learned.
And you got to figure out how to. So, and I'm sure even from just a social dynamic, like they're probably not passing you the ball as much, right?
No.
So okay, I better get some offensive rebounds, or I better get a steal.
Yeah.
I better earn the ball somehow because they're not going to give it to me.
And you're not going to get every offensive rebound and put it right back up, right? That's not good. You're going to have to change your
a different
approach.
game. Yeah. No, it's yeah. Okay. Another speed question. What's your favorite part of the game when you're playing?
I'll go first.
I just love those moments where you're in synergy with your team and everyone is moving, and you may not know exactly where you're going, but everything pops, and so everyone's touching the ball, you're making a cut, and those moments where you're all you're playing together. What's Fulton's term? Where you're connected, where you're connected, but you're connected in a flow state. Those are and I've played with my brother for a very long time, and so he and I often, if we have the right other guys we're playing with, like that flow state, just a lot of churn, run, dribble, handoff, cut, and you're passing the ball before they even turn their head because they are going to turn the head. Right. So that is my favorite part of the game.
Got it.
Yeah, a backdoor bounce pass for a layup is my favorite part of the game.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think mine is when you get to the point when you're playing one-on-one against someone that you've got them completely off balance. Like, you've pump faked the first time.
Yeah.
And so they think you're going to do it again and you don't. And, you've gone right each time and then you go left. And it's like a pitching duel. Like they have no idea what's coming next. And I like that point where, it's really not about skill so much as a mind game a little bit about strategy and getting the other team off balance, or all right, I'm going to get them to foul me 3 times and get them out of the game.
Yeah.
That's all I'm working on right now.
Yeah.
And so that to me was always the funnest. I didn't play on a lot of good teams in high school, so it was a lot of one-on-one play.
Right.
Like, I remember stealing the ball, being way ahead and just waiting and letting someone catch up so that we could play a little, way more fun than just going up for an easy basket. So it's definitely, I think, one-on-one play for me is the most fun.
I was thinking about this just recently because our friend Tom Poser, I think he very much plans every move in advance. Like he has thought about, not every move, but a lot of moves. He's already thought through exactly what he's going to do, and he's anticipating what the defense is going to do. And I guess I never play that way. I'm kind of reading the defense and seeing what they give me and then trying to take advantage of it. So very much, I guess maybe more reactive than proactive. Would you say when you're playing one-on-one, are you proactively planning these moves?
Yeah. Like, especially in the post, because I played the post a lot. And so, mostly with my back to the basket. Yeah. So that gives you the chance to, where do I want them to go? Yeah. How am I going to move them? Yeah. So I think about it. And I think about their weaknesses. I think I pick up on other players' weaknesses very quickly and easily and capitalize on them. And then you're just kind of toying with them a little bit, So I think particularly centers think about that. Yeah. You kind of have to, and you can easily draw fouls, you much more easily draw fouls. Like I would score 25 points a game and 12 would be free throws, right. Just because I got fouled all the time.
Yeah.
So I would definitely think about it. Yeah.
Tom Poser also won a Rochambeau tournament.
He did.
With a lot of people. So he's a very cerebral thinker. I don't do well in the Rochambeau tournaments.
He doesn't look like a thinker,
but he is.
Really?
Eileen, I'm enjoying this crunch time. Keep going.
Yeah. Okay, let me see if I got others for you.
We don't want to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. I don't know if I have any. Let me think if I have other questions. Well, high tops or low? That's an easy one.
Well, I had a history of bad ankles, so high tops are kind of important for me.
Do you wrap the kids' ankles before practice?
We require them to wear ankle braces. We don't tape them. So, some kids do tape, but we at least need to have ankle braces on. They don't like it, but we've just had so many turned ankles.
I used to be high tops. I had a lot of ankle issues in high school as well as in college. Missed some time with some bad ankle injuries in college. And then I started trail running after college, and I started playing. I think probably the first time I played in low tops, it was just because I didn't have other shoes. I'm like, oh, this feels good. And I have been low tops pretty much ever since. And I think that my ankles just got strong from trail running and from not having the, the support. And, so maybe a few tweaks here and there, but a long stretch with not many ankle injuries.
I'm high tops all the way. And still my kids laugh at me. I'll walk around with high tops on.
Is it passion or is it?
No, I'm just still whatever. I might want to play some basketball.
We're old school.
Yeah.
I just put my high tops on the other day.
Yeah. Oops. Okay. Then weight training for basketball or no?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. But in moderation, but yes.
You have to know what you're doing, when you're doing it, and you have to be careful during the season.
No one did that when I was in high school. Yeah. Man, probably you guys either. No one. No one really.
Maybe it was frowned on when I played.
Yeah. Maybe they ran. Maybe they ran.
Lift weights, you won't be able to scratch your ass. It'll be so tight.
But it's got to be functional. So we do talk about this with our players. There are a lot of them are in the weight room, and they may not be doing it necessarily for the basketball function. They may be just wanting to get built a little bit, and so the biceps is not a very good functional exercise.
Curls for the girls.
Curls for the girls.
So I think it's core strength, it's lower body, and just some upper body strength. That's really hand strength, really important.
As an old timer, I'm really into that. We didn't have that years ago. And they have weight training now for every sport, but more specific to the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely changed.
Oh, absolutely. What's that stuff I had when I broke my hip? What do they call that? It's not weight training, but...
Yeah, sort of some calisthenic stuff.
It's very minor Pilates stuff. It doesn't seem like you're doing much. God, it has a tremendous effect. Yeah. I've tried to incorporate that with the fighters.
Yeah, balance, core strength. Yeah.
So here's another question I've kind of wonder about is, do you teach everyone every skill, and play a motion offense? Or what do you do when you have a true post player or center? Do you change your game around that, or do you still run a motion offense?
I think you try and, to the extent you can, I think you change and multiple coaches have told us this, you change your offense to fit your personnel as much as you can, rather than try and change the personnel to fit into your offense. So I would say that approach, although I think there are a lot of, bigger kids that, are coming through club ball, and they all, everyone wants to win. So they're having the big kid play inside and just do a certain, subset of activities. And it's not really allowing for the development of that kid as a player in a holistic way. So if you see that if it's a type of kid that could develop a game, then I think try and identify that early on and really push them in the off season to extend their game. And Mike Turner, a great example.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think it's a great question. I mean, I think the classic example of this is John Wooden. That Wooden won.
When you said that, I thought that
10 straight titles, and his teams were very different. He had some teams where nobody was over 6'6", and then he won titles with Lou Alcindor and Bill Walton.
He said keep them close to the basket.
Yeah. So when you've got, a generational talent like Lou Alcindor, you're gonna play out of the post.
Yeah.
Or run the UCLA high post offense. When you have Walt Hazard and Keith Erickson and these guards that are amazing, so I'm a proponent of that system. Kind of build your system around the talent and the personnel that you have. But what Duffy mentioned, very true. And again, back to Carly, Karen Horstmeyer had advice for Pam Nelson and Carly when Carly was young and she was tall. And the instinct, I'm sure, for every coach would be put her in the post. And Karen said, don't do that.
Yeah.
Teach her, make her handle the ball, make her shoot. And now Carly's a 6'1" guard who's got a Division I future because she can handle the ball and use her height and be unique, be a Kevin Durant kind of a player. So yeah. But I'm, as Duffy said, use your personnel.
Larry Fulton, when he coached me at Marin Academy, turned me into a point guard, even though I was one of the taller kids on the team. Yeah. But and we didn't really run much of an offense. To the extent we did, I would bring the ball up, I'd pass it to the wing, everyone else would clear out, and I would go and post up. So I was kind of doing both, right?
Point forward.
Yeah, and I was being guarded by people probably, I had like 6 inches on them a lot of the time because, I'd go, you're guarding the point guard. How's that going to work out when I take you to the post?
Yeah, I was the opposite because no one ran motion. And so I was only 5'9", the tallest player on the team. And so I'm in the post. But I had a lot of other, guard skills from playing one-on-one and pickup games. But that was girls basketball. You just put the tallest player in the middle and, it's just a different game.
The modern game, whoever you are, Asia Wilson, Nikola Jokic, I mean, the big players, the really good post players, there's this expectation that they have to be able to shoot the three and they have to handle the ball.
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody runs, at some point, they're running some version of 5-out motion.
Yeah.
Right? Princeton, whatever sets they're running, horns, too high. Like, big players are expected to be able to handle the ball away from the basket today. Even if you're 7'2", if you're Joel Embiid, still have to be able to handle the ball.
Okay. So then next rapid fire, what's the best way to learn to be a good coach?
Still trying to figure that out.
Have a podcast where you talk to smart people and pick their brain.
Seriously, this is a pretty good one.
It's a pretty good way to do it.
Great question. I think actively watching basketball is a really good tool. So instead of just kind of sitting on the couch and kind of ignoring the game that's on, really watch. And as you watch what they're running on offense, watch how are they defending screens on defense, what are they doing after timeouts, and pick coaches that you respect and you like the way that their teams play. So for me, I'm biased, but Tara Vanderveer is always someone that I've really admired. I just love the way the Stanford women play. I love the way the UConn women play. I love the way the Villanova men played under Jay Wright. So I would watch those games, but I would actively watch them and rewind it and really try and pick up what they're doing. That's helped me.
I think you have to realize what type of coach you can be and be authentic to that, and that, and then try and get as many lessons as you can, soak everything in, but also be true to yourself and true to your strengths as a coach, because not everyone can be a big motivator. Tyler Gaffney talked about this.
Yeah.
Not everyone, is gonna, be able to coach through negative enforcement or even positive enforcement. And so it's just finding, my approach has been love of the game. It's the core thing that, that has to be the through line, because that's very authentic for me.
Yeah. Okay. I got one more.
Eileen.
So I often, when I watch a game, feel like a team isn't attacking the weakness or the weakest player on the other team. And I wonder how much you think about that, whether it switches to get to that matchup you want, or if that's just sort of people don't do it at the high school level, but it seems like I don't see it as much as I should. And I wonder what you think about that, particularly in a girls' game where the skill level is very varied. There'll be a couple really good players, but then there'll be players on the floor that really aren't very good at all. And it seems like you ought to be attacking all the time,
We were just talking about this sort of in a different way, right? With Tom, we had a discussion with Tom Posey the other day about pickup basketball, and at the end of the game, it's a pickup game. You want to win to stay on. You don't want to have to sit out, and it's game point. Where do you go? Well, you find the matchup. What's the best mismatch that you have, and that's who you go to, right? You're right that I think that that's something that coaches maybe miss sometimes, and players don't understand. Okay, we have this great matchup here that we should take advantage of, but maybe that's not our best player, but it's our best mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you that that's not always taken advantage of as much.
I don't even sometimes hear it in a game plan,
We will, I'd say I think especially at the high school level, there is a downside to thinking that way too much, because you really don't want your players, especially if you're playing young players. Last year we're playing a bunch of sophomores on the archery team, thinking too much out there, right? And our best stretches of success last year were when we were the only thing that we were insisting on was playing fast. Don't dribble the ball up the sideline. If you can pass it up, just play fast and share the ball, get in the paint, and that worked very well for the team we had last year. But there were moments, especially late in the game, where you might have Owen go and do a little button hook, isolation button hook, shallow post against a guy. May not be the weakest player, but maybe it's a kid like Bravelli who has 4 fouls, and now we want to get the 5th foul on him. So I think there is definitely some of that, and there's definitely in the film we're looking at people that we can help off of. I think that's probably more so on the defensive end. It's like, all right, that's not a shooter. If you're guarding them, you're in the paint. Like, that is definitely taking advantage of players on the defensive end to help your overall defensive scheme. I think that happens a lot. And of course, it's the obvious one. If you have a 6'8" guy, and then the other team has a 6'2" guy as their center. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty obvious. I think teams do that sort of thing. We don't really have that luxury at Archie.
Was going to say the exact thing you did about the counter of defensively. That's something that we do a lot.
Right.
Is, okay, who can we help off of?
Right.
And who do we not help off of? Right. I guarantee you, teams that are playing us this year, they're not going to help off of Carly. They're just going to face guard her, not let her get the ball.
Right.
Right. So now we have to think through, okay, what do we do in those situations? And some teams, you play some teams where their offense is really driven by one player.
Right.
That's a facilitator. Even if that guy or girl doesn't score all their points, that's their facilitator. You take them out, they're dead, right? So that's something we think about a lot.
Yeah. It sounds like you guys, besides the podcast, think about basketball a lot.
I think you have to.
That's fair
You do
say.
have to. You do have
Yeah,
to, right?
you
Or it's just you
You
do
gotta be
anyway.
thinking about
It's
it
in
all
your
the
head.
time.
Or if you're a really big nerd like we are.
Yeah.
Well, this has been
I've got one more.
really
question.
fun.
All right.
Duffy has one more question.
All right. It's going to seem like out of nowhere, but are you planning to buy a Scratchers lotto ticket today?
Not only no, but hell no.
No.
Well, you should,
Why?
because the last guest, one of the last 2 guests we had on, I just heard today,
Really?
this, Mike Turner scratched off a lotto ticket, and I think he's buying a new house.
Wow.
Really?
What
Yeah.
what was the dollar amount?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to disclose
Okay,
that, but
well-
enough,
It had to be a
enough
lot.
A house
to
in
get
this area?
yeah.
So my
That's a good one.
my MBA friends would tell you that the expected value of a lottery ticket is well below the price that you're paying for it,
Okay, so
Unless you win. Unless you win.
unless you're Mike Turner.
okay, so here's what I think about that. Even though I don't buy them, the thought of how I'm going to spend the money is the fun part, and that's only $1
So if that's
to put me in that mindset. That's our flood horn that goes off at noon. So buying it.
And it's only flooding sunshine right now.
Yeah, exactly. I would only buy it if the amount you could win is a huge amount, which even though your odds go down, it's the dreaming of
If
how
it's
I'm going to
worth-
spend that. That's
you know
worth
what?
it.
If it's worth the fun,
Yeah.
then absolutely go for it. But just from a pure economic perspective. But
No, I
Duffy,
agree. I don't get lottery tickets really ever, but what we used to do growing up, my parents would get them for Sunday dinner. Everyone would have one, and then you go around to say what you would do with the money.
Yep.
And so it becomes like a
that'd be fun.
family conversation.
Right. That's the fun part for sure.
I didn't have on my bingo card that we would cover lotto tickets today in this podcast discussion, but thank you guys for the time.
Thank
It was
you.
really
Yes,
fun talking.
sure.
Joe,
Yeah.
thank you for your stories and your perspective. And thanks for all that you've done for Marin basketball in your career. You're a legend.
In my own mind.
And Eileen, thank you for your perspective and thoughtful and best crunch time we've had.
Best reverse crunch time.
Best reverse crunch time. And good luck with the upcoming election.
I'm the only incumbent, so it should go well, we hope.
Burke's on his feet. He looks up and gives me a grin and says,
Hey, dude, you too must be from Marin.
Marin County's A-OK, from Tampa, Stinson, all the way to MA. Fresh organic veggies in the market every day.